Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Tuesday. It's July 15th, and what a difference a day makes. And say that tongue in cheek, but really, I mean, you look at yesterday. After the open, prices spent the whole day in about a 2 or 3 point range, and then today we get a huge sell-off followed by a huge, well, I won't say huge, but a big rally so far. So we may take all this back before it's over. This is the market you just can't keep down. And for once, we actually had some fairly strong selling. It's been a few days since we've had any selling like that. But we're bouncing off those lows, and we've got a channel working up now. We'll see what happens. But quite a few really good trades today. It was a little questionable until right here, and then even then you don't know that it's going to break through these lows like this, but it does. And if you follow our midday charts, I had this channel on here, wasn't real sure about it, but it did turn out to be indeed a good channel. I think I had it a little flatter than it is now, adjusted it as we got more price action, but fairly straightforward two-tiered channel here, and lots of easy short trades, and then a couple of really good trades to the upside so far on the way up. But let's talk about the trades, and then I've got one other thing if we have enough time that I want to show you. I'd hate when we get these long 30-minute chart lessons. I prefer to keep them shorter and more to the point. But usually when they are longer, there's some good stuff in there. So rather than beat around the bush, I'm gonna get to it because there's one other thing I'd like to share with you if I have time that another trader sent me. And but let's talk about the setups I saw and get through the chart lesson first. We were working up here, nice leg up. Usually after you get a leg like that, you're probably going to at least get a retest. Maybe even another new leg, another leg up, a measured move. I didn't measure this one. I don't think we quite got a measured leg. It's probably more like if you measured it off that one, it might be. Still not, but generally I'm going to measure the whole first move and then measure from the correction. So the fact that we didn't get that is telling you something. You can see how this channel, everything's working over and it's losing momentum here. So that's a sign, but you can't go short until you've got a sure thing to go short. There might be a short here, but you're better off to wait. Now that we're back in the range, it's better off to wait on the second entry short that didn't come till over here to make for certain that it is going to hold as a range, because we could have just worked higher here. Notice this little trap that's maybe a tick lower here. That's tempting to go long, and so, but you got a little short-term channel, and there's no break of it till here, and generally you're going to get a retest, at least a retest of the channel. You actually did get a retest of the channel, but generally you're going to get a retest back down here, and of course we got the first two swings, and this kind of confirmed that. Those swings were correct. So this was the first real good short I saw. I don't think you want to go long off of this. There's a aggressive long here. I'll mark it, but I don't think it was anything that I would be interested in, especially when this the more bullish looking bar just ended as an inside bar. Because you got a bunch of overlap, you got a bunch of matching highs there. I just think that's too risky. You didn't get a first entry short here. There is a conferred second entry short here on a smaller level. But again, when that ended as a doji, I think you want to wait on a second entry, and then that came here. So this was not only a second entry counting off the lows, but it really was a second entry off the highs counting off the high. So and it did break higher first and then turn down. So just put a stop right there, and it went right on through. And if you didn't, because that's a doji, if you didn't like that one, this ended real bearish right here. Let me make this a little bigger. Just put your sell stop right under that bar, and man, it took off like a rocket. And and you're thinking it's probably going to bounce here, but it doesn't. It just goes right on through. So now you're looking for it to maybe bounce on the low side. It actually bounced a little bit early, but you can see there's not much momentum there. So just sit and wait. You actually had a failed second entry long there, so you might have thought about going short right here, but there's just too much overlap. There's not enough bearishness. I would have waited on this bar, and you see it didn't break below that when it went higher, and then it came right off it broke that one tick trap, and then look how bearish that is. Just put a stop right there, and breaks lower, it pulls back, or you might, since it closed and opened with that gap, you might have thought about using a limit order because it's probably going to come back, but sometimes it doesn't. After a move like that, it could have just taken off again, but it doesn't. It comes back, and then it gives you a second entry short again. And if you didn't enter here, definitely enter here. And again, you're thinking it may bounce here, but this time it just keeps going straight on through. So it turned out to be a huge trade. And when we got below here and it went right on through here, then you had to think that this is probably a two-tiered channel. So just wait and see if it comes back and gives you another setup, and it does, and it's right off the short-term trend line. It's kind of some two dojis here. It really broke higher first, so I like just going short right below that bar. There was that gap though, which sometimes it'll feel that and pull back. But I still like this just to go short right there because you've got this channel working down. There's a good chance that the lower side is down here an equal distance from this one. And so if you wanted to, you could go short there. Once it pulled back and tested that again, I was a little hesitant to go short below those two matching ones. So you might have been better off to use a limit order, but I doubt you would have got filled on that one because it took off so quick. So if you did try to use a limit order, you probably missed that one. And then it bounces right off the line, but it pushes a little shorter. And this I want to show this 1963 and a quarter kind of area. I had that line on there when I posted the midday chart, which prices were still up in here at that point. And so that's a good 9:30, and we reached it around 9:50. That's a good 40 minutes prior to prices getting there. And I hinted that we might get a bounce right there, and let me explain why. It wasn't because I'm a mind reader, I know where prices are going, but if prices got down there, it was the high of the day 2 days ago and the high of the day 3 days ago. And so that was resistance. So if it comes back to test it, and it was also the low of the day pretty much yesterday within a tick or so. So that's an important area that prices are probably going to come back and test, and hopefully you'll probably find support there this time. And we did do just that. We got a nice correction. We actually overshot. Okay, I'm sorry, I had a little interruption there. So anyway, remember that those previous days, highs and lows and openings and closings, they're all important. And so that's why that line is sitting right there. And you can see it. We went a few ticks past it, but the thing was really bearish. And guess what? Usually when you get an overshoot on one side, you're either going to come up short an equal distance, or you're going to overshoot a similar distance on the other side. And this is where you just have to be patient until you finally get the setup here to go short, and then you get two legs down to a new low, and then we've been rallying ever since. So perfect price action today. Nothing out of the ordinary. Good, strong trend. So I forgot where we left off. I think we were talking about this trade here, and then the second entry short, and then this one I went back and forth. We already talked about this one, I guess. I went back and forth on this one. It could have been green, but I really, once we touch this midline, we're pretty sure you're going lower. It just depends on how you entered it. If you waited till you had all three bars stacked up, you might have used that limit order as I talked about. But then you overshot it, so you got to be real careful going short here. And there is a second entry short, but look at that signal bar. That's a horrible signal bar. I don't think you don't want to go short below that. Just wait Um, you did have a close outside and a new high, but I think I would wait and get a second entry off the high. And you never get that by just being patient because of this overshoot and the fact that we moved down a long way. It's time for a correction, and you get your two legs up, and you do get your trend line break here. So again, once you get hung up in this stuff, just be patient. You get a second entry short right here. I kind of like that one, but it did back up again, and then you get the failed second entry short, and then look how bearish that is. So definitely go short below that one if you didn't go short below the second entry short right there off the top. And again, it just takes off. And right here, you get a failed second entry long. And this one is supposed to be, I guess, right there. Because it did tick higher again and then turn down. And you're looking for prices to retest this low. So even though they bounced here, you're still figuring they're going to go on through. When a move down this strong, it's rare that you're not going to get a true retest of the low. And you can see we indeed got two measured legs down here. There's leg one, then your correction, and there's leg two. And it's basically within a tick of being two perfect measured legs down. So I like going short there. Even though it's close to that low, it's still a long ways down here. And this is really bearish. Then you get a little correction. It's like a little back to the short-term trend line, and it holds. This one's a little more suspect because you did bounce here right at that low again, and you do have some overlap. So I made this one green, but you know, you're still looking for that new retest of that low, and once it takes off, boom, it's off to the races. You get one more pullback, but now you've got your um, break at the trend line. You got two legs down, and you're starting to correct. But you're not down to this low yet. You figure you may make it all the way down to here, and this is kind of a pullback to that trend line again. So an aggressive trader might add on or hit one more lick right here. And it did work, and of course it bounces. And once we started bouncing here, I don't think you want to take any more low shorts unless you get a really strong setup, which you never really get. You get a second entry short here, but it bounces right off this trend line, and you've had everything you need to get a reversal now, and it's working higher, and you got that trap of that failed second entry short, and that's where it usually comes in those reversals. You're kind of close to this though, so I think it's a little aggressive, but it is a trap, and the odds are it's probably going to go higher here. So it works, and then you get another little trap right there. Notice this high, first entry short, pull back, second entry short. You got a little double bottom right at the the original trend line, right at the EMA. It reverses, it goes out the bottom first, reverses, goes out the top, closes on its high. If you can get it in there, drop a stop right there. And if you can't get a stop, drop a limit, see if it will come back. And this thing takes on off easy scalp. And then you get another, you pull back first entry long, pull back second entry long, right off the trend line. It broke lower below those little matching lows first. Another good entry, a second entry long. And you got a first entry right there. You may get another second entry. This may just continue working on higher here. So let's extend it on out. And so you got a channel still working, and that's where we're at about it's about 12:45 right now. So really good trading day. Like I said, not only a good trend down, but even still going a good trend up. So these are the kind of days we love to have. And this was starting off looking like it was similar to yesterday. We had the trend up in the overnight, and then we kind of got hung in the range, kind of a two-tiered range, although it was a much bigger range than the previous day, so it still looked different, but it still had kind of the same MO. But this turned out to be a good trend down. Wasn't that hard to find, really. It was fairly easy to find the trend line, trying to figure out what was going on when you overshot it here. Was this an overshoot? But when you went on down and kept going here and pulled back and tested it, you know what's going on then. and then you get your trend line break, two almost perfect measured legs down to a new low, and then a reversal. And that's what we love to see. And I mean, I wish we could get days like this every day because it doesn't get any easier than this. It was a little tricky until right here. And this is almost a repeat pattern of this. You didn't get as much overlap up here, but you did get the little trap. Broke higher first and then turned down. So really good trading day. And this again was almost similar to this on the next level. And notice that this support in here is now acting as resistance. This support here is now acting as resistance. You could probably move that up a notch. But you can see that, and this was resistance in here yesterday. So, you know, that just reinforces how important those previous, and notice that little gap there. That's why I use that, because that's like a breaking point. And that turned out to be where all the closes were on the retest there. So, and the only reason I put that right there was because of that little gap. I figured it's either going to be there or right below, and it turned out to be the gap. So, and then now was the resistance before we got the last big sell-off down. So really good trading day, fairly easy to understand today compared to some other days. So I hope you had a good trading day. If you didn't, most likely where people get tricked is you know, waiting on the downtrend to start up again. So wait on those little traps, you know, failed attempts to go higher, second entries. Like these were the sure things, this one and this one. But with the trap on both of these, I like them just as well. So, but anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. Actually, I wanted to show you one other thing real quick. I'm going to pause it. Okay, this trader sent me this Friday, but it was after I'd already done the video, and I wanted to do it yesterday, but I forgot to do it. But I wanted to just read you his email and show you his chart, and show you how he's reading it fairly well here. And he took a long, and it looks like two shorts, and he got them both pretty close. And he's using, I forget what you call this indicator, JS opening price. And what it does, it helps you determine where the range might be, if there's a range. It's just another way to get to it, and it'll usually look very similar to what my lines look like. Even though I don't use this, I do it based on my experience. But you can see that, and this is kind of your no man's land in here, and you know, your two other sides is kind of a but you might want to use that. It's called JS opening price, and I believe that I posted it on the website a while back, so it is there someplace. I don't have the link, but it does help some people kind of figure out the range. But notice he bought the low here. I think it was a little bit, he's got his a little bit different, man. I think it's a little risky buying there because you're working down, but all the same, he recognized the bounce and he recognized the location. And it was a good trade. You figure you're going back to the other side now. If you want to be aggressive, that's okay. You finally got the break here, and you got the two legs up, so he took the second entry short right here into that short, and then again he waited on, you got a new high, first entry long, second entry long. He saw the trap right there, broke lower, and he took that short. Good trade there as well. But I want to read his email. Well, I wish I could articulate the change that took place the last couple of days in my ability to read and understand price action. Perhaps it's all those countless hours of reviewing charts, studying trades, reviewing videos, and rereading the trading plan. It might be all those things, but I have a sneaky suspicion it has more to do with finally developing and understanding the importance of waiting. This is the important part, the importance. He finally understands the importance of waiting for price to move toward a key level, and then have the ability, desire to read and understand price action when it reaches that level. The attached chart is 2 executed trades and 1 missed. I was waiting at those levels well before prices arrived. What helped me to understand what to do was understanding why and how price moved to that location to begin with. Add good trend lines, knowing the strength or weakness of the trend, and short-term trend lines with some patience and the desire to wait. And here's another key piece, and the desire to wait and not always having the first in makes it all come together. In other words, he's saying not being so eager to take the first trade or first every bar that sets up. In fact, it's been working so well it scares me to think that I actually get it. Have a good weekend, Mac. Appreciate all the help. So this is somebody that gets it, and he's having success. And I get, every once in a while I'll get these emails from people where the light is clicked and the light went on, and suddenly everything changes. Doesn't mean they won't still make mistakes. Doesn't mean that they can't still have losing trades, but they're understanding what's going on. They're not just looking for an entry on every single move or every single bar. They know what's going on. They understand what the prices moves are telling them, and they're waiting on prices to get to those points that they're expecting something to happen, and then looking for the setup. You can't work too far out into you can't always work too far out into advance. Okay, probably only feels like a second, but I've had about a 20-minute interruption there. But anyway, I hope that makes sense. What were we talking about? Oh, I was just reading the email that I got from the guy. And so there's another one. The light's gone off. He gets it. He understands what we're doing. He understands the value of patience and not just looking for a setup on every bar. That we're waiting for prices to do certain things at certain locations. And sometimes generally you only know where those locations are short term. On this channel working down, we're waiting on a setup off this channel each time. And if you get that, you want to take it. And if you don't, then you got to be patient, and you're waiting on something else to happen. You're waiting on prices to come back and test something else. And just remember those previous days highs, previous days lows, previous days closings and openings, they can be important positions. And this was the close of the previous day, and look what happens when prices, they worked around that area both days. It turned out to be what I call a support resistance area, a major one. Prices worked both sides, acting as support when above and as resistance when below. And notice your overnight high, or your overnight high, low was in here, and that's where he bought. The overnight high was up here, and then the day high was up here, and the day low was down here. And it turns out, though, that there's an important area right across here, and if you could look back across, there was probably a previous day's low or something over there, or maybe a day or so back. So hope that's helpful to you as well. I like to show that stuff when I get a chance. But see what the market's doing. Looks like we finally got a break of this channel. I guess as we'll shoot for a new high. We could have a two-tiered channel, but at this point I'd just be looking at this as being a break and maybe a new high. We may turn down again, or we may just end up in a trading range right at across the previous day's lows. 1970 50 area. So, and look where we're at. We're right in that. We're right in that area. So, and finding resistance, and of course we drag this. You can drag this line on across, and you can see it there. So it's important stuff. So hope that's helpful. I'm going to wrap it up for the day. We'll be back to do it tomorrow. But this is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.